Hello and welcome to the show. This is Chris Nelson. It is April 29th, 2021, and I am joined today by Andrew Pollack, and you may remember him. His beautiful daughter, Meadow, was horribly murdered in what happened in Parkland back on April 14th, 2018. And thank you so much for joining me today, Andrew.
Oh, thanks for having me on. And, I commend you for saying it that way. A lot of people tell me Meadow was lost. Meadow wasn't lost. Meadow was murdered, like you called it out. It hits a nerve when you say it, but that's the truth. I didn't lose her. She was murdered. So thanks for not cookie cutting it.
Yeah, there's no cookie cutting, and I saw your speech at the Republican National Convention, and you certainly do not seem like a guy who minces words in any way.
No, I like to be unfiltered. That's what my wife says. I'm unfiltered, so that's the way you should be, especially in politics. Especially, that's what we loved about President Trump. He said what was on his mind, and he got a lot of things done that he did say. So, being unfiltered, I enjoy it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's the only way to live, and I want to bring up this tweet that you put out. Can you see it on your screen? Can you see it on your screen there?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Okay, so this is what you tweeted after Superintendent Robert Runcie resigned after his arrest for lying to a grand jury, having to do with the Parkland shooting. And right here, Robert Runcie's corruption led to my daughter's murder in Parkland. He failed her, the 33 others shot, and jeopardized the safety of 300,000 students. He smeared the victims' families as racist for exposing him. Now he finally resigns in disgrace. Good riddance, scum. Hashtag fix it. And I noticed there were some people below that were wondering, what did Runcie have to do with it? Isn't it the killer? I won't even say his name. I'll just call him the killer. Wasn't it the killer? Or wasn't it the NRA somehow had something to do with it? So can you tell me, what did Superintendent Runcie, what did you mean by his corruption leading to your daughter's murder?
Well, Runcie's a liar, and I'm glad they got him in the grand jury. Lying, because he's lied from day one. In 2013, after Sandy Hook, Runcie went to Tallahassee, where the state legislators wanted to give Broward County, I think it was something like 50 million. I could be wrong, could have been 25, something. They wanted to give them a substantial amount after Sandy Hook to make all necessary repairs to the schools, single point of entries, training, to harden the schools. So, and Runcie testified in front of Tallahassee. There was a Senator Stoble there who was funding the project. And he said he was going to make all these repairs after Sandy Hook and the training for Code Reds. And Runcie never did anything he said he was going to do. If he would have done one of those things that he testified for after Sandy Hook, all those, my daughter and the other 16 would be alive today, but he never did anything. His first lie right after the shooting was, he got a month after the shooting, he got on national TV and said the killer was never in the promise program while in high school. That's what Runcie said. A Harvard graduate saying while never in high school. When he said that, I knew the guy was lying right then and there, that the killer must have been in the promise program while he was in middle school, and that came out. The guy never took any responsibility for anything, for the lack of training. He's the general. He runs the ship. He's the captain of the ship. If everyone fails underneath him, that makes him a failure. And that's what happened leading up to that day. Everybody failed at that school. They didn't have the proper training. They didn't know what to do. Gates were unlocked. It wasn't a single point of entry. And the guy I never even met the guy after it happened. And, you know, if Runcie or Israel just would have been humble and didn't brag about their amazing leadership and how great a job they did, and just said, you know what, this is a horrible thing that happened. We need to learn from it and make sure it never happens again. If those two leaders would have said something like that, they'd probably still be there today. But they never accepted any responsibility, and I had to hold them accountable. And now they, you know, good riddance, both of them. You know, either one of them did anything wrong.
So what does justice for Meadow look like?
We're working on it. It's still a work in progress. Israel, well, getting Governor DeSantis and Senator Scott elected was justice for Meadow. It was important for me to get them both of those guys elected because they've done a lot. Governor Scott at the time was responsible for signing that Senate bill that for school safety, the Marjory Stoneman safety bill. He was responsible for that. Governor DeSantis was responsible for removing Sheriff Israel and also putting in this grand jury that wanted to look into the failures. You know, I knew the first time I met Ron DeSantis, I met him at, I think they called it the Lincoln Dinner in Fort Lauderdale. I think I met him there. I went, something like that. And I met him, and he spoke about holding public local officials and officials accountable. And, you know, then I met with him, I had a talk, and I got, you know, I said, you know, this guy means he's going to go, he wants accountability. He's going to hold people accountable. And I said, and that was early in his campaign. He wasn't nominated yet for governor. He was up against the agricultural guy. I forget his name.
Putnam.
Hey, Julie, you remember that?
Putnam was going to be the guy. And it shocked me when DeSantis became the nominee. I mean, it did. I didn't think a guy that conservative could get the Republican nominee.
Well, I went out early with Ron, backing him, doing robocalls, door knocking, rallies. We did everything possible to get him in. And he held to his words. He wanted to hold people accountable. It didn't matter if they were Republicans, if they were Democrats. He was holding them accountable for failures, okay? You know, this whole political nonsense that it's political has nothing to do with it. How about it has just to do with lying and being a failure and being corrupt? The kids in that school didn't give a shit what party you were in, if you were a Republican or a Democrat, those kids at the high school. So all of a sudden they want to make it political, just like Israel did. He made it. That's their only angle. It's political. It has nothing to do with their failures or destroying a department or destroying a school district with their corruption and their lack of values and their lack of leadership. Nothing to do with that. You know, this is their only angle. They'll pull the political card out. They'll pull the race card out. But this is what they both did, and they continue to do it. And Runcie said one of the reasons he's resigning was to give peace to the families. What kind of BS is that?
Yeah,
Peace
I want to play.
Families. We need, you know what that's what he said. And nothing about him being a terrible leader and all his failures, but because of the families. That's what he's going to blame it on next.
Yeah, it really surprised me watching his press conference at first, where he's vowing to fight this.
Yep.
And then in the next minute, he's saying this.
To do a national search for a new superintendent.
If it's going to give you peace, and it's going to give you and those other parents who remain angry because I don't see how there's anything else I can do, if it's going to give you that, I will step aside so you can have the peace that you are looking for.
Is he stepping aside to give you peace?
he can't even leave in the right manner with dignity, this guy, or nothing. He's just a piece of garbage, to say that to Lori, to give her peace. She'll never have peace, regardless of what this guy does. There's no such thing as peace after your child gets murdered. This guy couldn't say, you know what, it's better for the district that I step down. And that's it, shut his mouth. But he's got to bring up the Parkland family. It's like, I don't have no vendetta against the guy. The guy failed. I have to honor my daughter. The guy's a failure. He never did anything he said he was going to do, and he lied constantly. So that's what happened to him with the grand jury. Nothing to do with any of the families, because we don't have peace to families. You know, bring our kids back. We'll have a peace. We'll have peace. But other than that, this guy is just garbage, to bring that up to Lori.
Would you like to see him in jail?
I don't, you know what I mean? If that's what it is, if those are the laws he breaks, then he should go to jail. And like I said, if the guy from the beginning just accepted it and said, this is horrible, we need to learn from it, and we made all these mistakes and it's never going to happen again, you know, I think it goes away. You know, I think he'd still be there, but he didn't do it. If it turns out that he broke a lot of laws, then he needs to pay the crime. You know, you do the crime, you got to do the time. And we'll see what happens. I think for him to, you know, these guys at the grand jury, I had met them. I testified in the grand jury. I met the guys. I never knew anything that was going on. It's very secretive when they do a grand jury. And I just have the impression that these guys are very sharp that did this grand jury. They're not, you know, they're bigweight, they're heavyweights that went and did this grand jury. So if they arrested him, I'm sure they have a lot that's going to come out. You know what I mean? There's no chance that this guy didn't break the law if they arrested him.
Yeah, and just his change in tone, it just seems like there's something more to it going on there. And so do you think that that more people need to be held accountable in a greater way? Do you think that Scott Israel should be in jail?
Oh, no, I don't, you know, I don't know if he committed a crime that was punishable to be in jail. I think Deputy Peterson, who didn't go in, he should be in jail for what he did, not collecting. You know, Peterson's getting a pension of over $9,000 a month. He is brought up on felony charges. So that case, you know, everything in Broward was at a standstill because of COVID, all these cases. So I think Peterson's case should be coming up soon. They should get on the calendar because he's a felony child endangerment. If he gets charged with that, he could lose his pension, which I don't think he deserves a pension, you know, for letting 17 people get killed, hiding at the door for 40 minutes. I don't even know how long anymore.
And now we all saw how this happened. And we watched the deputy as he stood there at the door. Do you believe there was any kind of sinister intent on behalf of the sheriff's office or any other officials to allow this to happen?
No, no one would want to allow it, but their policies that were in place led up to it. You know, Peterson's just a coward. When it came time to step up and do his job, he retreated. He went to the door where he heard the shots coming from inside the building. Everybody knew it was inside, but they drove him to the building and told him that he's inside. And he couldn't, he shit his pants. He didn't go to the door and go in. He could have had an easy shot. The kid would have just surrendered or shot himself, and we'll never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, the policies in place in Broward, I wrote a book about it, Why Meadow Died. People could get it if they want. It tells all the parents in Broward about the policies that's going on in Broward County. and across the country in these public schools. And what gives me a little happiness is every time I see 2,000 less students in Broward, and then there's 5,000, and then there's 6,000. Parents are learning, about these policies, and they're taking their kids out of the public schools. So it's, to me, that brings me a little peace, knowing that parents are educating themselves, because it's on the parents. You send your child to a piece of shit school district like Broward, and then, you're rolling the dice every day, sending them to a school like that. I didn't know any better, but every parent now has to know that what goes on in these public schools. And, if you choose to send your child to that school, then you're rolling the dice, sending them. There's a good chance nothing happens, but there is bad people going to those schools.
Yes. And I actually had a teacher come to me anonymously and share some of these things with me about what is being taught to kids in school. And it is books about Harvey Milk, who was a guy that liked to date underage boys, being taught to elementary school kids. And I don't know if you can see this here, but these are just book after book after book. The March for Our Lives book, the book about the March for Our Lives that happened after the fact, and gun control books. You Call This Democracy, anti-American books, Black Lives Matter type books, books about undocumented immigrants. It's one anti-American, anti-Second Amendment book after another that's being that is being taught to the kids in Broward schools. What do you think about this?
Yeah, well, this is what goes on at the public schools. That's not even the worst thing. The worst thing is they let criminals in with your children at the schools without these kids getting held accountable. There's violent, emotionally disturbed kids going to schools in Broward County. They just mainstream them with children in the schools. No, and they label them special needs. Not special needs with children that are autistic or just have a learning disability. These kids are violent and disturbed, and they put them in the schools.
Now, what you're referring to
And
here.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Shit. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hey, Julie, could you go get Glory? She's in the street. Before we have a problem, I got a livestock guardian dog, and I see her out in the street. I can't.
Yeah, I see you. I see you out there in. You're in Oregon now. So it's like seven, almost 8 o'clock your time out there, and wow, it's just so beautiful out there. I see all the pictures you post, and and you raise livestock out there. Did you just want to get out of South Florida after everything that happened?
Yeah, I can't live in that county, Broward. You know what I mean? It's a cesspool. The people that run it. Every senator in Broward voted to reinstate Sheriff Israel. You know what I mean? Every elected senator, state senator, voted to have that guy back in office with the kid. Being in charge of the schools, putting the SROs out there. I just can't live around that element. I live in a rural county, and I like it. I got goats as neighbors. Not too many Democrats. I traded in Democrats for goats.
You could call them goats. But I mean, look at this. This is absolutely beautiful. This is where you live now. Those are your goats there.
Yeah, I'm just watching them out now. We've been letting them loose. It's pretty cool. I would need a big gardening team if I didn't have those goats. So the goats are out eating all my grass down. We got blackberries up the yin yang. They eat that. They eat anything, these goats. Anything you put out there. Like, I can't even plant a tree because they'll eat the tree. So there's nothing, the only thing I haven't seen them eat is a rock. That's it. But other than that, the goats eat everything. Oh, that's at the, we just did that the other day. So that's the parking spot. You know, when you're a senior at Douglas, they give you your own spot. And that was Meadow's parking stopper at Stoneman Douglas.
Oh, so this is at Stoneman Douglas here.
No, that was there. That was at the school. Now it's at the playground. And I tell anyone that's listening to bring your kids to the playground in Coral Springs that I built. And it's beautiful. Princess Meadow Playground. It's across from Coral Springs Middle School on I think that's Wiles Road. Wiles.
Yes. Yeah.
Wiles Road. Take your kids to that park. They love it.
All right, I'm gonna go check it out. I'll go check it out today and snap some selfies out there. There's you with Meadow.
Yeah.
And,
They just put that parking spot in there, so they've been pretty. The city's been. We work with the city a lot, you know, Coral Springs. So go check. You have any kids?
I do not. I'd like to one day.
No.
I won't be sending them to Broward
right.
Public Schools. I can guarantee you that.
No, you can't. You really. I have to have your head examined to send them to that public school system. Like who's running it? You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know these things, bro. I made it. Look what it cost me. You know what I mean? I paid the ultimate price sending my daughter to a school run by these loonies. You know what I mean? That's all. You know, the kid, they had to frisk the murderer. They frisked him every day before school, and wasn't made aware of this. No parent. Like, who would want to send your child to a school where they have to frisk someone that they're letting into the school every day?
He was being watched by the FBI, and if you want to talk about being watched by the FBI, let's see, every Trump supporter that was in Washington on January 6th is now being harassed at airports, watched by the FBI, visited by the FBI. Well, the killer at Parkland was Googling all sorts of things, like how to commit a shooting at a school and get away with it, like blatant, obvious terms like that, was being watched by the FBI, and but no action was taken. Nothing was done. Does the federal government have something to share a role in the blame for this?
Yeah, they got actually 2 tips, the FBI, and didn't follow up on them, that he was going to shoot the school up too. So we're trying to hold them accountable. We'll see what happens with that, with the FBI. So it's the only way to get changes done, is to hold people accountable, you know, where it doesn't happen again. So the FBI, we've been trying. We'll see what happens with them. And then we got Peterson. His case is coming up. His felony charges. Wrongful death case is coming up on Peterson also, that we have. Medina, the guy who let him walk through the front gate, and the other guy, the other monitor, who hid in a closet while the whole thing went on with his radio and didn't do shit. So those 3, it's all still going on. And it's crazy. So the Siobhan, the guy, George Floyd case is over, 1 year. We're waiting here 3 years to get this case done. And George Floyd's family got $27 million for a convicted felon high on meth who resisted arrest. They got $27 million from the police department. Here we're sitting here. They don't even accept. They did nothing wrong. Innocent children at the school, and nothing's even moving forward yet. We don't even have a trial date to get this done. And these kids were innocent at the school. This guy is a convicted felon resisting arrest, and the case is already done. And the family got, like I said, they gave him $27 million for a convicted drug addict.
And it seemed like all we heard after the fact was the March for Our Lives stuff, the David Hogg stuff, the NRA is to blame, Trump's to blame. And you had a different feeling about it than all of them. Do you think anybody should have their guns taken away, or the Second Amendment right infringed on because of what happened to your daughter?
The only thing I see that's going on that we can make a big difference is we have laws in place. The mentally ill, with due process, they should have a background, so they're not able to purchase a weapon legally. That's where the system's failing. And laws are in place for that. They're just not enforced. The mentally ill with due process should have backgrounds, so they're not able to purchase. And really, no one's doing nothing about it. Either side, Republicans, Democrats, just enforce the laws, increase our mental health process so we could put these people through the system. All the billions of dollars we're giving away. You're telling me we can't open up some mental institutions? We're giving the guys printing money around the clock, Biden, trillions. Now they throw trillions around like they used to throw millions. So you're telling me they can't build some mental health facilities to house these nut jobs that are sick, and then make sure they have backgrounds? You'll see that'll stop. And then, you want to stop these mass shootings. It should be when someone does a mass shooting, they should be in trial within a month. Have the trial in a month and then execute them. And you'll see that the shootings stop. And
They'll go down.
Backgrounds. Yeah, give backgrounds to the mentally ill that are sick, and you'll see a lot of these shootings go down. And the laws are in place. Like I said, I don't see a Republican or a Democrat looking at those laws or trying to work on that we already have in place. In Florida, they call it the Baker Act. They Baker Act people, but then they don't do a due process. They never finish it. They just let them out. Instead of evaluating them, going through a psychiatrist, going through a judge, put it on their background. No one in their right mind wants a mentally ill person getting a gun. Don't look at us law-abiding gun owners. Look at these mental, and then you'll see when there's a shooting. Oh, the kid was a nut. The kid threatened to kill people. All that stuff comes up. If you're out there threatening people, they need to have process where it goes on their background and they can't buy a rifle. It's not really rocket science.
Yeah, people running around making threats. I would think that they would be red flagged in a way, and that's of course with the Promise program, what they call it. And these lefties, they always have these clever little acronyms for everything. It's the remember when it was the Cash for Clunkers program? It was the CARS program. Then it's the this, and then the Promise program, which it spells out some stupid thing. But basically, the thing with it is that these guys, like how you're saying, the murderer at Parkland was being frisked every day, so they knew it, but nobody was being told about this, and this was because of the Promise program, right?
Well, they were allowed in Broward County at the time when my daughter was in school 4 misdemeanors per school year, and then it would reset every year. They were allowed 4 more. That's the ridiculous program.
Can I get that?
Sell drugs, assault a teacher, steal an iPhone, punch a kid in the face, and nothing. You would never meet law enforcement. You would be in a healing circle at the school. Okay. And then you could do that in 9th grade. And then 10th grade, you get a fresh new start. Let me go sell some more drugs, steal stuff at school. Kids would actually, instead of going down the street at the mall and selling drugs, you sell it at the school because nothing could happen to you.
Yeah, and
this is known. I met Broward County has their own school police, that works in house, and I met with them. They showed me all the reports, all the of the drug dealing at the schools, and no one ever gets held accountable for it. They would push it under the rug. So that's Broward County, and that's the public school system.
Oh yeah, I live here, and I've experienced some of it. But here you are at the Republican National Convention. You gave a great speech. It was awesome, and I'm glad I got to talk to you. And you, Okay, our new Sheriff Tony, he's got some problems as well. Okay, he's under investigation right now for lying about things he did in his childhood, about drug use, about different things. He's lied about some things, and he's under investigation now. And I believe that you were the one that recommended him to Governor Ron DeSantis to take Sheriff Israel's place. Do you regret recommending Sheriff Tony?
Oh, not at all. Sheriff Tony was the only person on the ballot that could have beat Israel, and we know that. No one else could have beat Israel except Sheriff Tony. I think he's doing a great job. He improved all the training at the Sheriff's Department. I still in touch with him. And I don't know if what those accusations are. I believe they're false, these accusations. Or how long does it take to look at an application and find out what's on it? You know what I mean? So, everyone who's talking crap about Sheriff Tony, he's the only candidate that could have beat Israel. Okay, so what were your options? All these people complaining. Did you want Sheriff Israel back or Sheriff Tony? Okay, so when I look at those two things, I'll pick Sheriff Tony all day long. The kid came from a rough city. Okay, he made something from himself. Okay, he had a terrible father figure. He grew up in the hood, as we call it, in Philly, and he persevered. He ended up going to a university. You know what I mean? He made it onto the football team. Who doesn't? Whatever it is, I don't know whatever. If anything happened, who did make mistakes when they were younger? You know what I mean? But the bottom line is, he put himself through college. He made criminology. He became a police officer. He made it to sergeant. He opened a company, and he came from nothing, this guy. So all that bullshit is propaganda. I think so. Just people that don't like him. But if anyone, the alternative was Sheriff Israel. That's what these people don't get through their head. Did Israel or Tony? That was it. None of those other guys running. Wayne Clark. I met Wayne Clark. Nice guy. Didn't have a chance in prayer. He could have been Jesus. He could have been Jesus on the ticket as a Republican in Broward, and he wouldn't have won. So, you know what I mean? That's the bottom line, bro. It don't matter if Wayne had a halo on his head and wings on his back. He still wasn't going to make it as the Broward sheriff. So, Greg Tony, he won. It turned out that we made the right pick. And that was it, the bottom line. Or you would have Israel back there in Broward.
Yeah, and he did beat Israel, and I grew up in Pennsylvania, not where Sheriff Tony did, but I've been through West Philadelphia, and it's like Baghdad over there. So
the guy made it. You know what I mean? Everyone talks a big game about African Americans. Inequality. Look what this guy came from. You saw the neighborhood he grew up in, and then look where he is today. And he did that all on his own, going to college, walking on to the football field, So I'm happy that the guy's there. I think he's doing a great job. And even whatever happened in the past was the past when he was young, if it did even happen. And now look where he is. He's running a department from a kid from the streets of Philly.
Yeah, and I hear thanks to you, I hear. So do you agree with his stance against Governor DeSantis' anti-riot bill? Because he told the Broward Sheriff's Department not to enforce it.
It's a tough job being a sheriff where you live. You have to pander to the people that elect you. I'm not saying he is, but where he lives, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody that's saying, dude, he lives in Broward County. The people of Broward have to elect him. What is he going to do? Agree with DeSantis? Agree with the riot? Back President Trump? Is it, you know what I mean? I understand that there's a lot of Republicans in Broward, me being one of them. But when you step back and think this guy needs to get elected to his job, what is he going to do? I don't talk to Tony about that, but what are you going to do if you need the people of Broward to elect you? Are you going to go along with Governor DeSantis? It's only common sense.
You raise
Right?
you raise very good points. Now you have this is something new that you launched, right? The school safety grant. Could you tell us a little bit more about
Grab me
this?
some coffee. Hold on a second.
All right. And then,
Hold on,
I'll let
brother.
you go. We're about to wrap up here. I thank you so much for joining me today. Oh, coffee sounds good.
Yeah. Oh, I tell everyone, get this, order this Black Rifle coffee. Could you see that?
The Black Rifle
You see
coffee?
me over there or not?
Oh, I like
Yeah, you see
that.
that?
I like that mug right there.
Yeah, I got my mug here too. Great coffee made by veterans. You know, and
Black
they
Rifle
support
coffee.
them.
I
They
guess you can
support the
probably get it
veterans.
online, right? I don't know if you can get it at the store, but
Yeah, you could buy it. I buy mine online. Nah, everything. I buy everything Amazon out here where I live, you know.
yeah.
They
How
deliver
close is the
everything,
nearest
even
store?
where I live. I'm out in the bush. Yeah, I'm about, I don't know, 30 minutes to a store, 25 minutes. Not too bad.
Nice.
I
I
go
mean,
into town a
it
couple
looks
times a week.
absolutely beautiful out there. And I mean, living in Broward County, you just want to get away from all the people and the traffic and the honking and the noise. And it's like, there's so many people.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah, I don't have that. I got my rooster. I got my rooster, you know, and I got the goats. I got the goats and my rooster and a couple of dogs. That's about it.
And you're out there with
So yeah, school safety grant. We're in Broward County doing a lot of work with law enforcement. And if any of your listeners are out there that has a restaurant, a mass gathering, a church, a temple, or any law enforcement, go for law enforcement. It is free. Schoolsafetygrant.org. Go on and sign on. Law enforcement will always be free. And any places of mass gatherings, even a restaurant, we connect law enforcement to that entity. No matter what cameras you have, we could connect them. A school, a private school, a nursery.
what cameras you
You
have?
know.
You put in cameras or
Any cameras. It doesn't matter. We connect law enforcement to, like we're doing right now. I have a restaurant in Coconut Creek. It's called Naked Taco. It's at the promenade. So if say there's something happens, there's a fight, there's a robbery, they hit a button on their phone, an app, or call 911, and within seconds in Coconut Creek, it lights up. They'll see every camera inside the restaurant. The same thing for their city buildings, some schools. Within seconds, they're connected to law enforcement where they could see real-time intel, what's going on at that location. They could speak over the PA. They're able to unlock doors from the real-time crime center. So it's
Nice.
pretty impressive stuff, and it's taken off. So anyone that wants to see what I've been working on for the last couple of years, that's it. Schoolsafetygrant.org. And we're in Coral Springs, Coconut Creek, Margate. We just won our biggest contract for Pinellas County up north in Florida. Every school will be connected to law enforcement. We're doing some temples, churches. If you own one, this is the future of 911. You want to have real-time intel for law enforcement within seconds, and this is what we do.
Very nice. And this is tied to a grant from the federal government, or talks about?
No, we have. I raised money from a private equity group and to support law enforcement.
Wow, you
and then
did
we
this on
charge a
your
little
own.
money.
Wow.
Yeah, with the company. And so we raised a lot of money for law enforcement, and then we charge a small connection fee to keep the grant going. You know, because we support it's supported forever when we give it to law enforcement, and it's free for them. So we have to raise money somehow to keep the grant alive, to keep going into Texas, New Jersey, Oregon, all over the state, all over the country. We're helping law enforcement. They need our help right now, and we're helping them.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Andrew Pollack. Is there anything
All
else
right,
that you'd
Chris.
like to add before we end about Superintendent Runcie or any of these, or hopefully soon to, well, actually, let's go ahead and call him that, former Superintendent Robert Runcie, or any of the other things we
There you
talked
go.
about?
That sounds good. And he onally stepped down because he was doing me a favor, right?
Yeah,
Wanted to
he
give me
did it
peace
for
in my
you.
life. That's why.
Didn't you see? He really had a
Yeah,
lot.
he did it for me.
It's
Runcie did it for me. Nothing about him lying and being incompetent, but he did it for the Pollack family. He stepped down to give us peace. Thank you, Mr. Runcie.
Just
You're
the
a great
fact,
guy.
just the fact that it happened a week after, or a couple of days after he was arrested, had absolutely nothing to do with it. Andrew Pollack, thank you so much.
Nothing to do with it.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. Is there any way people can contact you, or do you have anything else that you'd like to?
They could write me on my Twitter, Andrew Pollack FL, on Twitter. And I just urge everyone to go to schoolsafetygrant.org, check out what I've been working on. Maybe I can help you. Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much. And this is Chris Nelson. You've been listening to my show. Please like and share this all over the internet. And this is Chris Nelson. Thanks for watching.